The sky burned blue when the children died. It wasn't the colour of a storm or the glow of dawn. It was something unnatural, something engineered. Above the domes of Terra Nova 4, the midday sky split with impossible precision, and from orbit, a dozen satellites fell, trailing sapphire flame. No one ran at first. The children were in school, the parents at work, and the world was at peace, until the silence broke and the fire rained down. In just under 16 minutes, 800,438 children were dead. No soldiers, no weapons, no mercy. Just vaporized playgrounds, incinerated schools, and the crackling silence of orbital death machines performing clean clinical genocide. They said it was a targeting malfunction. They said it was a strategic misfire. They said nothing when Earth demanded answers. We had been part of the Galactic Accord for barely 2 decades, a young species crawling into the stars with trembling hope and diplomatic smiles. We built embassies, we offered trade, we adapted to their laws and studied their ancient languages. We thought peace meant safety. But peace, we learned too late, is just the lull between violations. And when the Empire claimed that no Imperial military unit had authorized the strike, that the satellite controls were hacked by rebels, we understood what that really meant. No one would be held responsible. But we remembered. We always remember. It was President Lian Juno who spoke first, lived from the shattered heart of Earth's United Council chamber. Her voice was hoarse, not from weeping, but from screaming. There were no speeches written that day, no protocols followed. She stood before the galaxy and said the words that would divide history into before Terra Nova and after the warning. We are no longer interested in apologies. We are no longer waiting for justice. This is your one and only warning. Humanity will never let this go. The Galactic Council cut the transmission. Earth's embassies were closed overnight. Relays to human systems went dark within hours, and still, we waited. Not because we were afraid, but because we wanted them to think we were. Behind the curtain of diplomatic silence, Earth transformed. In the vast orbital yards above Saturn, once used for trade vessel construction, the Atlas Defense Initiative was born. AI-designed warships, powered by dark energy cores we weren't supposed to have yet, slipped into production. The colonies stopped building cities and started building fleets. Every scientist, every engineer, every student who'd watched their brothers and sisters die, they didn't ask for revenge. They built it. And then there was Project Ashfall. Its existence was denied by every official agency. No documentation, no public briefings, but whispers passed through shipyards and relay stations like ghost stories. A weapon built not to deter, but to erase. Something that didn't just kill, but ensured no one would remember what it killed. 6 months after the massacre, a galactic emissary named Vor arrived in Sol space, escorted by 2 honor cruisers. A gesture of peace, a show of goodwill. His message was clear. If Earth escalated, the full might of the Empire would respond. The known galaxy would not survive a human war. He never delivered that message. His ship was intercepted in the asteroid belt. No missiles fired, no energy discharge. The vessel simply disappeared from scanners, one moment present, the next gone. Earth said nothing, but the galaxy had heard. By the first anniversary of Terra Nova 4, more than 40 alien colonies had severed ties with the Empire. Not because they loved us, but because they feared what we were becoming. Because they knew what we had lost and what it would take to balance the scales. In the dark, humanity whispered a promise to itself. For every child you killed, we will erase one system. Not immediately, not loudly, but inevitably. And so the stars waited, holding their breath, wondering when the quiet, wounded species from the edge of the Orion Arm would finally unleash what they'd been hiding. They wouldn't have to wait long. The first Imperial world to burn wasn't even a target. It was a mid-tier supply station orbiting the gas giant Rasari Prime. Unarmed, largely automated and strategically irrelevant. The Empire didn't even bother to assign a patrol fleet to protect it. Why would they? No species in known space had ever dared to retaliate against the Imperial core, especially not Earth. But Earth was no longer interested in known history. They came in silence. No declaration, no demands, no monologue. At 3:14 local time, every orbiting satellite went offline. At 3:15 AM, the communication arrays inside Rasari's orbital dock exploded, imploded, really, without so much as a tremor. By 316, the entire station ceased to exist, not destroyed, unmade. The only surviving visual record was a single external sensor drone that had been scanning the nearby asteroid field. It caught the final second of the attack, a flash of white-blue light, like a miniature star igniting in reverse. And then, nothing. No debris, no radiation signature, no survivors. The data was quietly buried by the Empire, officially labelled a gravitic collapse, a natural event. Technically that was true, just not in the way they wanted to believe. Unofficially, the name Ghost Fleet started circulating in the Council's lower chambers, because no one saw them coming, no one heard them leave, and yet systems were dying. Weeks passed, then months. 4 more colonies went dark. First, Oshenkai, a cultural hub where half the sector's art and education were curated. Then the twin mining moons of Ferrex V reduced to molten glass. Then, shockingly, Vraxis, a core-adjacent system once thought untouchable. Vraxis had a fleet garrison. It had planetary shields. It had command infrastructure. It fell in 6 minutes. Still no official word from Earth, not a whisper on any diplomatic channel, no claim of responsibility. But the Empire knew, even the species pretending not to notice knew. The math was too clean. 1 attack for each month since the Terra Nova massacre, each assault executed with absolute precision, and always on the 14th. The 14th! The date of the Terra Nova strike, Earth's silent reminder. It wasn't war, it was arithmetic. In the shadows of Saturn's rings, Rear Admiral Kara Halleck stood aboard the SCS Eclipse, the flagship of the Ghost Fleet. Its hull wasn't forged from common alloys. It was lined with adaptive metamaterials dark as the void itself. The ship didn't reflect light. It devoured it. Kira looked nothing like the child she once was, back on Mars before the embassies. Now her eyes were cold, not cruel, just hollowed out from loss. Like most Ghost Fleet commanders, she had lost family on Terra Nova 4. Her niece, 6 years old. A holoscreen hovered before her, showing an intercepted transmission from the Empire. The usual denials, the usual lies. But something had changed. An unauthorized response from an Earth-aligned system has resulted in the destruction of Vraxis command. The Empire will not tolerate further rogue operations. Kira shut it off with a twitch of her jaw. Let them send their warnings, she muttered. They sent theirs first. The Ghost Fleet wasn't just 1 battle group, it was 10, each operating under full, blackout protocols, each loaded with AI-piloted decoys, counterintelligence drones, and weapons forbidden by every treaty humanity ever signed. The designs weren't human, not entirely. Earth had scavenged what it could from every encounter. Abandoned alien wreckage, old forgotten ruins, outlawed imperial tech, and rebuilt it all under the crucible of loss. That's what they never understood. Humanity didn't invent better weapons. We remembered better reasons to use them. Commanders didn't get orders. They got names, coordinates, dates. They didn't ask questions. They just delivered math. At the center of the galaxy, in the marble halls of the Imperial Senate, panic was turning into anger. Some senators, usually those far from the blast zones, still refused to believe Earth had the power for such precision strikes. They believed it was rebellion, dissidence, perhaps an internal schism among the Council species, but Emperor Van Delkos knew better. He'd seen the footage of Terra Nova. He remembered the silence that followed humanity's warning, and he understood what most of his court did not. Humanity wasn't retaliating, it was setting a precedent. They were teaching the galaxy how they respond to injustice, system by system, life by life, child by child. Back on Earth, the world was quiet, not fearful, not broken, focused. Every school destroyed had its name etched into the hull of a ship. Every child lost had their name programmed into a fleet's core processor. No soldier launched a missile without remembering who it was for. This wasn't revenge, it was ritual. And as the 2nd-year anniversary of Terra Nova 4 drew near, the Empire issued its first diplomatic request to Earth since the incident. They wanted to talk. Earth did not respond. The silence before the storm was deafening. Galactic diplomats, generals, and spies all waited for Earth's answer to the Empire's request for dialogue. In the gleaming chambers of the Imperial Senate, projections flickered with anxious energy, half hoping for peace, half fearing the worst. But Earth did not respond. Not with words, not with emissaries, only with the distant hum of a growing fleet preparing in shadow, in the underbelly of Luna's old orbital shipyards, where rust and history mingled with human grit. A different kind of preparation was underway. Inside hangars sealed from prying eyes, the SC's Valiant rested on its launch cradle, a vessel born from desperation and determination. Its hull was a patchwork of salvaged technologies, alien alloys, and Earth-made war machines. But what set it apart wasn't the steel or the engines, it was the mission. Kira Halleck stood again on the bridge, her voice steady but fierce as she addressed her crew. These were the faces of humanity's reckoning, veterans and rookies alike united by loss, fear, and a burning need for justice. "We're not just fighting for survival," she said. "We're fighting so no child born from this moment forward will have to suffer as we have. Every system we protect, every battle we win, carries their names, with a shield between their future and oblivion." The crew responded with nods and quiet determination. The Valiant was ready. Humanity was ready. On the other side of the galaxy, the Imperial High Command scrambled to respond to this new reality. The Empire had ruled for millennia with iron and calculation, but the emergence of the ghost fleets had shattered their complacency. Fleet commanders who once treated Earth as a distant curiosity now prepared for war on a scale no one had expected. Admiral Carthis Varro, known as the Iron Fist of the Corps, paced in his command chamber aboard the Imperial Starbreaker. His eyes, cold and unforgiving, scanned the reports flooding in from the front lines. Colonies were falling with eerie speed. Imperial ships vanished without a trace. The Empire's technology was failing against an enemy that didn't just fight, it erased. Varro slammed his fist against the console. "How does a species we considered primitive manage this level of precision? This strategy? We must crush them before they destroy what remains of our influence." His advisors urged caution, but Varro saw only one path: total war. Back on Earth, political divisions simmered beneath the surface. The war was necessary, they said, just. But there were those who feared the cost. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and a prolonged conflict risked annihilation. Some urged diplomacy, a chance to end the cycle of destruction. But President Lian Juno remained steadfast. In a rare broadcast to Earth's population, she spoke not as a politician, but as a mother and survivor. "We have been wronged beyond measure. Our children were taken from us in an instant of cruelty and indifference. We owe them not silence, but action. We owe them a future." Her words ignited a fire in the hearts of millions. Volunteers flocked to enlist. Scientists redoubled their efforts. Earth's factories churned day and night, crafting the weapons and ships that would carve humanity's path through the stars. The first real battle erupted near the outer rim of the Empire's borders. A convoy of supply ships, escorted by a light fleet, was ambushed by the SCS Valiant and its squadron. The humans fought with a ferocity that shocked even their own commanders. The battle was swift and brutal. The Valiant's weapons tore through shield grids with surgical precision. Human pilots coordinated with AI drones, their tactics a blend of creativity and ruthless efficiency. The Imperial escorts were overwhelmed, many disabled before they could even call for reinforcements. When the dust settled, the human fleet had not only destroyed the convoy, but captured 2 enemy vessels intact. A rare and priceless victory. The news spread like wildfire. Imperial propaganda tried to spin the defeat as a minor setback caused by terrorist insurgents and rogue factions. But in hushed corners, officials whispered a terrifying truth. Humanity had evolved into a force no one had predicted. The species once mocked for its impulsiveness and emotions now wielded those very traits as weapons, driven by a collective will forged in loss and fueled by unwavering resolve. Admiral Varro convened an emergency war council, his voice heavy with urgency. "We face a new enemy, not just a foe, but a storm. They fight not for conquest, but for remembrance. Every victory they claim is a message to the stars." He turned to his generals. "We must adapt, or we will be swept away." As the war escalated, the galaxy held its breath. The Empire mobilized entire fleets, deploying vast armies to crush the human threat, Earth's allies, few but fiercely loyal, sent reinforcements and supplies, while many others watched cautiously, weighing their futures. Yet humanity's strength was more than technology or numbers. It was the spirit that refused to break, the memory of those lost, and the unyielding belief that no injustice would go unanswered. Behind every human ship was a vow, etched in steel and starlight. They took our children. We will take their worlds. The war was no longer a distant rumour whispered in diplomatic chambers. It was a brutal reality that tore through the fabric of the galaxy. Entire star systems felt the tremors of humanity's wrath. Every planet that once bowed to the Empire's rule now faced a reckoning written in fire and steel. The ghost fleets had become a tempest no one could contain. On the shattered moon of Karos, once a thriving Imperial research hub, Commander Kira Halleck stood beneath the broken remains of a communications tower. The silence was thick, heavy with the ghosts of what had been. She traced her fingers across the scorched metal, feeling the echoes of the lives lost here. Her comm unit crackled, and the voice of an officer came through, terse but urgent. "Commander, sensor arrays confirm a large Imperial fleet is approaching from the system's outer edge. Estimates suggest at least 30 warships, capital ships and escorts." Kira's eyes narrowed. "They're coming." The Empire's response was predictable but deadly. The High Command had assembled its largest fleet in decades. The Imperial Retribution Armada was a show of overwhelming force meant to crush the ghost fleets and end humanity's rebellion in one crushing blow. But the humans were ready. In the dark expanse between Karos and the asteroid belt of the nearby star system, the SCS Eclipse and its sister ships took position. Each vessel was a shadow in the void, cloaked with advanced stealth systems and armed with weapons capable of crippling entire star cruisers in a single volley. The battle began with a silence that belied its ferocity. No fanfare, no warnings, just cold calculation and deadly precision. As the Imperial fleet moved deeper into the ambush zone, the human ships struck. Wave after wave of plasma lances and quantum torpedoes tore through shield arrays. The Empire's massive cruisers, symbols of millennia-old power, were shattered like glass under relentless assault. Kira stood on the bridge of the Eclipse, voice steady as she commanded the fleet. "Focus fire on the lead flagship, break their formation, use the asteroid field for cover." The Eclipse's sleek prow sliced through the darkness as the battle escalated. Fighters swarmed like angry hornets, AI drones flitted through the chaos, and human pilots danced between explosions with terrifying grace. The fight raged for hours. When it ended, the Imperial Retribution Armada was in ruins. Several capital ships had been obliterated. Many others were crippled, retreating into the shadow of their empire with bleeding hulls and shattered pride. On the human side, losses were high but sustainable, an acceptable price for a victory that sent shockwaves across the galaxy. News of the battle spread rapidly. The Empire's grip was loosening. Emperor Van Delkos was furious. He met with his generals in the marble halls of the Imperial Palace, his voice a roar that echoed through the chamber. "This rebellion will be extinguished. Humanity's defiance is an affront to all we have built. Prepare the Oblivion Lance. It is time we bring this war to a brutal end." The Oblivion Lance was the Empire's deadliest weapon, a colossal superweapon capable of annihilating entire planets in moments. Its construction had been a closely guarded secret, but now it was ready. The question was whether humanity could be stopped before it was unleashed. On Earth, President Leon Juno received word of the upcoming threat. The revelation sent shockwaves through the command center. "This weapon," she said grimly, "is what we've feared all along. If the Oblivion Lance fires, it won't just destroy a planet, it will destroy hope." In response, Earth accelerated Project Ashfall, the secret weapon designed not only to strike back, but to erase entire star systems from existence, ensuring the Empire would never again threaten humanity or its children. The stakes had never been higher. As the first anniversary of the initial attack on Terra Nova 4 approached, humanity prepared for the next phase of the war. It was no longer about survival, it was about retribution. Kira Halleck, standing once more on the bridge of the Eclipse, looked out at the stars. The same stars that had witnessed the death of thousands of innocent children. The same stars that now waited for humanity's answer. She closed her eyes and whispered a vow into the void. For every child lost, we will bring 1,000 worlds to justice. We will burn brighter than the fire that took them, and the galaxy will remember, never to cross humanity again. The countdown to the Oblivion Lance's activation was more than just a timer. It was a heartbeat echoing across the galaxy, marking the moment when all things might change forever. Every star, every colony, every warship felt the weight of that single number as the Empire prepared to unleash its ultimate weapon. Yet on Earth and in the hidden depths of the Ghost Fleet, something else was stirring. Hope, defiance, and a relentless will to survive. Kira Halleck stood once again on the bridge of the SCS Eclipse. The ship thrummed with energy, systems humming in perfect synchrony as the fleet prepared for their most dangerous mission yet, to infiltrate the heart of Imperial space and stop the Oblivion Lance before it could fire. The target was the massive orbital platform known as the Spire, a towering fortress where the superweapon was housed, shielded by layers of defences thought impenetrable. "Prepare boarding parties," Kira ordered. "This ends now." Meanwhile, on the Imperial Palace, Emperor Van Delcos watched the unfolding events with a mixture of fury and disbelief. His advisors urged patience, confident in the Lance's devastating power and the Empire's vast military might. But Van sensed something else, something dangerous. Humanity's spirit was not broken. It was forged anew in fire. He vowed that whatever the cost, the Empire would endure. The Ghost Fleet moved through the void like a shadow in the night. Cloaked ships slipped past sensor nets and defense grids with expert precision. Human operatives boarded the Spire's perimeter stations, disabling communications and sabotaging power nodes. Inside, soldiers and engineers fought through corridors lined with cold steel and flashing consoles. Each step forward was a step deeper into the Empire's heart, and every heartbeat was a tribute to the children lost. On the surface of the Spire, the countdown clock ticked relentlessly. Seconds slipped away like grains of sand through fingers. Kira's boarding party stormed the control deck. The battle was brutal. Blaster fire echoed, alarms blared, and the very structure seemed to shudder under the strain of combat. In the final chamber, she faced the architect of the weapon, Admiral Karthis Varro. "Humanity will kneel," he sneered. "You cannot stop what's coming." Kira's reply was cold and steady. "We don't kneel, we rise." With seconds to spare, the Ghost Fleet's engineers disabled the core of the Oblivion Lance, collapsing its energy matrix and halting the countdown. The weapon, the symbol of the Empire's ruthless dominion, was rendered inert. The silence that followed was profound. A moment of victory, yes, but also a reminder of how close the galaxy had come to destruction. The aftermath rippled through the Imperial Senate. The loss was a crushing blow to the Empire's pride and power. Emperor Van Delcos retreated to re-evaluate his strategy, while Earth's position in the galaxy shifted from hunted to hunter. Diplomatic channels opened cautiously. No one spoke of peace, at least not yet. But the message was clear. Humanity would no longer be ignored or underestimated. Back on Earth, President Juno addressed the galaxy once more. "We did not choose this war, but we will finish it, for our children, for our future, and for all who believe that no life is expendable." Her words echoed on every inhabited world, carrying the weight of a species reborn in suffering, hardened by loss, and united by hope. The stars had witnessed humanity's darkest hour and its fiercest light. The galaxy would never forget. Because some wounds leave scars and some scars become legends.